So hello, everybody, and welcome to this session. This is a special session because it's a cafe. So we are going to discuss informally while taking a virtual coffee together with Daniel Brain, that we would like to welcome and thank for being here with us. We're saying we are cousins because is on behalf of Tesol, Spain. So we're going to share views and perspectives and ideas and learn from him. And so with no further ado, I would like to give him the floor and ask him to share, to tell us what Tesol Spain is doing. In particular, I know that they are particularly keen on learning technologies, on podcasts, and something very exciting, but I leave him the floor. Thank you, Daniel, once again for being here with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very, very much, Letitia. And I'm a bit of a last-minute substitute for Gerard McLaughlin, who some of you will probably know. So I apologize if I'm a disappointment. But anyway, it's great being asked to do this. I'm also very grateful to be invited to this Italian event because for me personally, Italy was the beginning of my career. It was the place where I decided I wanted to teach. I was very lucky to work for 6 months in a liceo linguistico in Padua.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that experience was, I just remember going back to England and thinking, now I know what I want to do. And we're talking about technologies, as you just mentioned. I remember at that time the biggest debate was VHS or beta. That was about the extent of technological discussion. Do we use video VHS or beta? So
now we're discussing about AI. Do we use AI?
Yeah, I mean, I remember taking some videos of English television programs for my students. And they were just like, wow, this is English TV. And it's kind of hard now to remember just how difficult it was to get access to things like that. And of course, now we've come so far, and I'm sure that
that's amazing. And sometimes it's so I mean, strange that our students, for example, don't realize how lucky they are now, because when you were mentioning the past, so students, so me, for example, when I was studying English as a girl, as a teenager, of course we didn't have so many opportunities apart from, of course, flying and going to traveling and so on, but to get authentic material for communication, for interaction, it was impossible staying in Italy, for example. So now our teenagers, our students probably don't know how lucky they are, even if studying in Italy, and then of course with same opportunities of traveling and studying abroad, but technologies can help a lot, of course.
Absolutely. Last week I was giving a teacher training session on using pictures, and I was saying to the people in the audience, we are so fortunate. We have such a wealth of images online. And I was remembering the days when you had to save every magazine you could find and cut out the pictures and keep them in a box. And I remember being very possessive of my magazines in case people stole them. And
treasure.
I want that picture. I want that picture. So it was, it's great. Well, if it's okay with you, I'd just like to talk maybe a little bit about what kind of a year it's been.
Yes, please. If you want to share your slides, yeah, you can.
It's just a very kind of to walk you through.
Of course.
What we've been doing, and maybe to some of the ideas you might want to comment on or discuss or ask me a little bit more about them, perhaps. I'm just going to do a fairly rapid run through.
Yes.
We went back to in-person convention in March. Sorry, it's a bit blurred, but you get the general idea. I was the coordinator for this convention, and it was not just successful. I think it was a real celebration because it was the first time we'd been back together since COVID. And I think that gave the convention a particular buzz. We called it Kilometer Zero because all the roads start in Madrid. I know they start in Rome, sorry, Letizia. But in Spain, the roads start in Madrid and it's called Kilometer Zero. And so we thought that was a really nice image to use because it was in a way, and it still is, the beginning of a new journey. And I think, as we've all discovered, that from now on, we can assume that we are constantly starting new journeys. Things are changing so quickly and there's so many new things coming on. So we had our convention. It was very successful. We were 500 participants, maybe, 100 talks, and really good feedback. But as I said before, I think there was a pleasure of reconnecting and being together. And on top of that, Madrid is a wonderful city to stay in for a weekend. So I think everybody found it really enjoyable. Our current plan is for Cáceres next year. I really hope that if you can join us. Cáceres is close to Portugal. It's in Extremadura. It's a beautiful town. I'm not going to tell Italians about beautiful towns, but you can see that Cáceres is a really lovely place.
Amazing.
And we are hoping a lot of people will be able to join us there. And we have 100 speakers. We're sending out acceptance letters this week. We spent last weekend doing the timetable. It's going to be I think a wonderful place to be, and both for the convention and for the city and the surroundings. So that's our plan for next year. We decided to introduce some new initiatives this year. One of them is a journal. But to give you a bit of background on this, I think there was a feeling that we've been working with a kind of newsletter format for a long time, and it felt kind of old-fashioned. It felt a little bit that we weren't even really sure whether people read it, and there's a lot of effort going into making it. And we thought, well, let's look at this from a different perspective. What do people get from our newsletter? And we kind of broke it down, and we began to think about, well, how can we do things a bit differently to recognize the fact that we have a lot of different members? I think at the time of speaking, we just trying to check the numbers, but I mean, at the moment we have 600 members of Tesol Spain. 601, I've just been told. And so many people have different interests, and we thought, how can we broaden, maybe kind of unbundle that newsletter and see how we can offer different things to different people, but still being one kind of family. And so we've done this. We decided for the more academic arm, if you like, or for people who are more academically interested, or a lot of our members work in universities, we decided to introduce a journal, which is being launched right now, in fact. And I'm the editor of that, and I have a fantastic team working with me, and we're going to be, kind of reading submissions. And we want to make this a journal.
It's a scientific journal, right? It's an academic scientific journal.
An academic journal, exactly.
With peer review process and
exactly. We have a peer review process. We have a very experienced and qualified team to do the peer reviewing, and it's a bit learning as we go along, because we haven't done this before. But that's something that we've introduced, and we're really hoping this can be a new focus. Also, in Spain, teachers could benefit from this, not only from the information, but if they can contribute, they can actually acquire accreditation for their work. So that's one thing we're doing. On the other hand, we decided to introduce a podcast. And I think we really felt that as I said, the newsletter was a lot of work. It was, people put a lot of effort into it. And in the end, we felt that probably not many people were reading it. So we thought, but let's take what we do in the newsletter, which is to share what we're doing, but also to focus on a topic, a theme, and turn it into a podcast. And my colleague, Teresa Bestwick, is working on this. We're on episode 4 now, so that episode 5 comes out in December. And Teresa worked out a really nice format where we have a longer interview with somebody about some aspect, either of Tesol Spain or current concerns in teaching. Technology is a big theme here, but we also have some lighter items. And the reasoning, I think you can imagine, is very obvious. People can listen to this when they're going to work, they can download it, and when they got 10 minutes to spare. And the response has been very positive. And we really, I think it's something that a lot of, I would recommend other associations to do this, because it does also make it more personal. There's no comparison between hearing someone's voice than reading a text. So it really helps to create that kind of empathy and connection with our members. So that's another thing that we have done. So we also do.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, please.
Do you collect contributions from the members? Do you launch a sort of call for podcast contribution, or how do they participate?
At the moment, it's very kind of garage style. I mean, we come up with a couple of ideas. So, for example, last weekend we did the timetabling for Catharis. And so I interviewed, we were doing it here where I work, and I interviewed the timetabling committee. And it was really nice to hear about, how do you timetable a conference for 3 days? What are the logistical issues? How do you balance which person goes where? So we did that. And then every week, every podcast, we have a language spot. So we take some kind of topical area, normally of Lexis, and then we explore a little talk. I normally write these. We have a little kind of discussion about, so for example, this week it was baking, and we looked at idioms, expressions related to cakes and bread and dough, and we use that as a kind of language focus. And then we get one of our area representatives. We have area coordinators all over Spain. Each podcast, we ask one of those to kind of tell us about upcoming events. And so Teresa, puts all these together and produces the podcast like that. And it's working very well. I have to say, it's really nice. So you can see, this is the most recent episode. This is my colleague Karen McDonald doing the complicated business of timetabling in a very old school way. But if you want to hear more about that, please just kind of go to the internet and just type in Tesol Spain podcasts, and you can hear what I'm talking about. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. I mean, there are a couple of other things I could mention, which is you probably may have seen some. I say not probably. You may have seen some in recent years. We've been doing a kind of associations online event. My colleague Annie Altamirano was the instigator of this, and so she, for 3 years, is something that started during lockdown and COVID. We organized these, having different associations from around the world giving a day of talks, and we've run it from Tesol Spain for 3 years, and I'm very happy to say that Tesol Turkey are going to take it on for the fourth event. So this is, I think that's the right one to tell you about. But anyway, so those are some of the things we've been doing. I don't know.
A lot of things. Congratulations.
Has it been a busy year?
Yeah, very active. And so how do members react? I mean, participate? How do they, how are they involved? Well, you mentioned high figures, high numbers for the conference, 400 participants. So first of all, sorry, I would like to ask the participants to pose questions or just intervene if you want to make comments or questions. But yes, so you mentioned 400 participants, so I guess members are very active, but yeah, how do you involve them, and what are their participation?
I think this is our, we take this as our challenge, because there's always a lot of buzz around the convention. People get very involved, and they, as I said, 500 people in Madrid. And it's always a bit frustrating when that drops off, because you have this kind of month, 2 months. And we're really, part of the reason for these initiatives is we want to try to maintain some of that momentum, some of that engagement. And that's what we're hoping is going to happen from this. We've only been worked with this kind of new strategy from October. But our aim ultimately is to maintain that contact. I would say, actually, to be perfectly honest with you, that there isn't a lot of interaction outside of the kind of convention period. But I think we can change that. I think that there are things that our members want and need. And if we can identify those things and go to some extent to providing them, I think that we can maintain more of that contact, throughout the year. We do something in Spain, which is, I know a lot of associations do it, but we have a lot of local events to draw in people in regions. So just last week, we had an event in Madrid, which I was speaking at. And, we had 100 members came to that. We had an event in September in Bilbao. So that really focused on people in the north of Spain, and they had a very good attendance. I think they had 300 people in that, or 250. So local events work very well. That's one thing, but of course that takes a lot of organizing and planning and a lot of work on the part of area coordinators. So the podcast, the journal, these are things we're hoping will be another way of doing that.
Great, yeah, because that's something that, of course, also we as Tesol Italy try to reflect and wonder how we can better further involve members and let them feel active protagonists. So we sometimes try to also to get from them ideas. Yes, of course, local groups are very active in Italy as well, and they do a very good job in online or face-to-face now. Yeah, seminars and conferences in face-to-face in the different regions, Italian regions and cities. So it's, of course, very nice. But yeah, it's always, when you have a national and international, we want, of course, to point at a global perspective. It's always nice to try best way, better and better way to involve and to let the participants, the members, be proactive now. Also in suggesting, for example, themes, topics, or that's what we do, for example, for the next year conventions. We try to understand the feelings, the attitudes, what they would like, if they can suggest possible ideas for for themes, for topics. So that's what associations are for.
I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think that there's that old phrase about business, wasn't it? About, I think it was something like, think locally and act globally, or maybe it was act locally or think globally. I can't remember which it was, but I think that they're not mutually exclusive. That one of the things that we can really do is to do both. I love this opportunity to be talking to people from all over the world. I think it's fantastic. And I was in the IATEPL conference a few weeks back. And I think that it's great. And at the same time, we can work very locally. I'm thinking of Spain and Italy are two countries I know to some extent, and they do have very big local differences. And what teachers might be concerned with in one region is not necessarily the same that they'll be concerned with in another. And that's not just a matter of educational context, it's also linguistic. So to have that local focus is really important. But tie it into a global focus is perfectly possible. They don't have to negate each other.
Perfectly agree with you. I also regularly take part in IATEFL conferences. I'm a member of IATEFL LTC, Learning Technology SIG of IATEFL as well. And yes, it's always nice every year to take part in this very, very big conference in annual event with global perspectives, global issues, and so that you can have an idea of what's going on at global, at international level. But yes, as you were saying, then when we come back to our country, so we have Tesol Italy, we have our association, which are national, and we would like to get inspiration and to bring ideas from these international and these global events, but just trying to contextualize them, as you were saying, because each country, also in terms of ELT, we deal with ELT, but we have different regulations, different ministerial guidelines, and also different priorities, because for example, now in this particular period in Italy, we have a new priority on CLIL. CLIL has been compulsory, in Italy since 2010, but now we've got new degrees and new energies coming from, from the Ministry of Education. That's something that probably is not happening in other countries. So that's what also an association like Tesol Italy wants to do, to just get Tesol Spain, of course, as you were saying. So just getting inspiration from other countries, from global issues, and then contextualize them into our regional, national context.
Okay. Yes, sorry.
No, I was just reading Ophelia's comment. It says that's wonderful information from Mexico City. We'll be glad to participate with you soon.
Oh, that's lovely. Please get in touch. It was this is my ambition is to go to Mexico City. My wife doesn't agree, but I really want to go. I have friends there, and they're always saying, come on, get here.
It's wonderful. So, Mexico's wonderful. I've been there.
I so want to go.
Amazing.
And I think just coming back to what you're saying about, I definitely just wondered, I mean, it's kind of, if you don't mind me asking what you think about this, because I was very interested at the IATEFL conference. We were talking in a particular kind of breakout room, and the representatives from Turkey were describing how they their Tesol association did a lot to provide emotional support for teachers, particularly after the earthquakes and the problems that are following that. And one of the things that really struck me is that I think we will move in that direction of associations offering more support, because I think that training is increasingly not unnecessary, but you can find it in other places. I mean, you can go online and find wonderful tutorials and wonderful talks about teaching methodologies, about teaching activities. But what you can't get through YouTube and you can't get online is support. And I don't just mean professional, I mean emotional. And it's a difficult thing to be a teacher, and a lot of the times we don't think, oh, that's something that associations should help me with, that's my thing, I have to manage my own emotion. No, I mean, we're a community, and we should be offering, I think, more ways to help each other and particularly with something now like this inundation of AI and the pressure and strain that puts on us, or regulations from authorities. I think that the future, a lot of the future is about supporting each other
Of
and
course.
helping each
I
other.
totally agree with you. We nowadays we talk a lot about social emotional learning, you know? So we can maybe transfer this to social emotional training, no? Because of course, social emotional training, social emotional teacher education, and so community of practice. So of course, as you were saying, it's not only a matter of content and of the latest methodology. So that nowadays, yes, the inundation, like the word you used, inundation of AI tools now, really so they're moving so rapidly that we cannot keep up with with the latest tool and so on. But apart from all this technical, methodological, and technical technological developments, yes, as you were saying, it's important to take care of people, of emotional and relational side, and all that has to do with and that's what happened during the pandemic. For example, we had we launched a survey in Italy with the help of the Ministry of Education and in the European in cooperation with the European Commission and Professor Terry Lamb at University of Westminster and the Institute of Research, the Italian Research Institute, which is in Dire. And among the different questions that it was a survey that we launched to Italian language teachers, and some specific questions were related to associations and communities of practice, and how they that they were living, where if they were if they had joined these communities. And yes, majority of them had joined and were very active, because there was a sort of comfort zone, a way to share ideas, but simply not feeling alone, not to feel alone, and just to there was the especially during the lockdown, it was a way to share, just to meet friends and colleagues, and share possible problems, find maybe solutions together. So yes, of course, support is a key word, as you were saying. So of course, now we are in this period, this post-pandemic era, which is called new normal. So we are in the new normality, because it's normal, but with lessons learned. And maybe one of the greatest lessons learned from the pandemic is just this, that you can, even if it's not possible physically in presence, but we can do it online. We can do it with the tools within the association, like you do with the podcast, with the journals, with regular events, with webinars, just feeling a member of a community of practice, sharing same ideas and passion. And this is concrete support, because when you read about an experience, you hear from a podcast episode some nice experience, some brilliant ideas, you can get inspiration, and of course you can then try in your class to say, wherever that I can try that. This is of course support as well. It is emotional also in terms of enthusiasm of and this is key to success and to move forward. So yes, I perfectly agree with you that associations like ours are not only aimed at providing materials and training about the latest methodology, latest AI tool, but to just let our members feel really not just a number, not just one let's say a figure, but just an active person, a teacher, of course. And so in terms of social and emotional relations, I fully agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we for the last 2 years in Tesol Spain, we've introduced more or less monthly, we call them meetups. And they're more aimed at primary and primary and secondary teachers, most of all. And not a lot of people attend them, but enough. And the aim of those is just really to take a topic and just to share experiences and to talk about what we did or what we could do or what worries us. And I think though they have worked very well for that reason, that they're a very relaxed. It's a bit like a kind of, I think our symbol is a kind of cup of coffee, is, for that, because it really is the idea of, well, let's just get together and share our feelings about what we're doing this, or we change the topic of them. So another one, for example, is, business classes. Most business teachers really work alone. I don't know the model in your country, but in Spain, most people teaching business English do it by going to companies. So it's a kind of fairly lonely activity. You go into a business, you don't have a body of colleagues around you. And so that's one where I think people really appreciate the chance to say, what do you do with this, and how do you manage that, and how strict can you be with CEOs of all those kind of problems that you face on your own.
Exactly.
It's really great to sit around and say, oh, so that's a really good idea. And I remember one thing that came out was I can't remember if it was one of these, or someone's just saying something silly like, well, I realized that all my students came into their class with a coffee cup. So I used to make them keep notes on the cup. And then at the end of the class, they'd have to swap their cups and see what vocabulary they'd written down, or what expressions.
Very nice.
I thought that was brilliantly inventive. Just kind of use something that would never have occurred to me, write it down on your coffee cup. So yeah, those kind of things come out of sharing, or come out of just kicking around.
That's the creativity, and that's also informal and incidental learning, no? And it's informal incidental training, because that's something that you get inspiration from, and then you try in your class, you get new ideas, and I think that's part of our mission as associations. And and now, for example, talking about AI, which is, as we all know, the buzzword of this time, the possibility to share ideas about the latest tool, or I found this one that's really amazing for language testing, or for reading, or for listening, for speech. It can be nice scaffolding also for teacher, patient teacher training. And so how are you dealing with the AI, which is the buzzword?
Wow, it's really a big one, isn't it? I think that that at the moment we're really kind of in the dark. I think we're finding our way, a lot of trial and error, and we certainly, for the Catharist conference, you could imagine we will be having a number of sessions about that. I think it's something which, well, we also have webinars occasionally. I think it's something that a lot of teachers want to talk about. I don't know whether people really want to be shown, how to use it kind of mechanically, but I think there's a lot of important discussions, conversations to be had about how to use it. I was a little bit surprised recently when I saw a session, someone saying, so this is how you create a lesson using, your AI, and explaining, you do this, you do that, and then, there's your lesson. And I was just thinking to myself, at what point in that did you check the information you were using? Okay, it's great to say, okay, AI, give me a text about pollution. Okay, create 4 comprehension questions. At what point in that process do you fact check that information? How do you, where is the step where you say, is this information responsible, reliable, accurate? I think that's, for me, that's almost a bigger issue than how do you use it. It's, what steps, what safeguards do you need to be?
Of course. You know that I think Italy was one of the countries, but I don't remember. I don't think there were so many that blocked ChatGPT at the beginning for some months because the privacy, person guarantee wanted to have more details about privacy, about copyrights and so on. And And yes, now that, of course, apart from ChatGPT, OpenAI, we have so many tools that are being, invented, created for different purposes. Yes, you're right. We need to interrogate. We need to guide our students towards digital. Not only digital literacy, but AI literacy, because now there's this new need for AI literacy, and of course it's also important for the teachers, for us, and teachers. So we need to learn ourselves first, not so much to use and to get to run after the latest tool, but yes, to use them wisely, and yes, find how reasonable they are, fact checking, which is it really could be a challenge for teachers and students in terms of critical thinking skills.
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah, you just you cannot take anything for granted, and information for sure, for accurate, but you need to practice your critical thinking skills to fact checking, and probably do further research in order to check that what you found out is relevant, is accurate, and that could be a good challenge for.
I think that's a really interesting one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I write for Cambridge University Press, and secondary course books mostly. And my editor, who is in Mexico City, wonderful editor. And just working with him, I mean, I just noticed that he's so careful to check. Like you say something about a famous person, and he say, William, I really need a source for this. I need to make sure that that's true. We do scrupulously check the texts that are going into these textbooks, as it should be. But I think we should try to, not without putting more work on teachers, which is always the thing. You don't want to say, here's another thing you have to do. But I think it's definitely an issue we have to address, because we're slightly dazzled by it. People saying, wow, look, oh, this is great. But sometimes you got to take a step back and think, well, are these materials appropriate? Are they accurate? Are they correct? So I absolutely agree with you. I think that it's
I did an experiment at the beginning when ChatGPT was out, and I think that probably all of us did it. Well, I asked ChatGPT if he knew me, just to learn, and the answer was that very, very good answer, because he just said that I'm an expert on CLIL, because I published so many articles and things on CLIL, so renowned. So I was very excited. But then, a renowned CLIL expert. But then said that I was teaching in a totally different university, so very disappointed. So it's not me. Probably it's another, referring to another person.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good reminder. That really brings it home when you you fact checked yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. It was an experiment. Well, just an experiment, but failed. So you need to take every bit of information as it is, and fact checking, and of course be very careful on what you use with your students. But yes, it could be a good exercise, a good training for teachers and students as well. Okay, wonderful chat, wonderful coffee. I don't know if there are questions from Ophelia. We can see that is with us. Thank you for being active, also showing yourself. And yeah, we also have Daniela, Tesol Italy president. So
yeah,
hello,
just to say hello and to meet you, Daniel.
Hello.
Sorry for not being here before, but I had a lot of sessions and a lot of things to do. Okay, but Letizia is the right person for this kind of session. Yeah. She is a colleague, a friend, my twin on the internet, and so she's the perfect expert of English. And I'll watch the recording, because all the sessions will be recorded, and so we have time to watch that again. So it's nice to meet you, and I do hope that we can start a collaboration in the future. We already have an agreement, but as well as having webinars and conventions together, I think that we should do something more.
Yeah, very interesting ideas. We've been discussing about what they do in terms of technologies, in terms of podcasts, of journals, and so we can think of possible cooperation because they're very active, and so we can maybe arrange a call in the next days and weeks, and arrange possible pathways for cooperation.
Yeah, also with the president of Tesol Spain.
Yeah. So as I said, Daniela, I think in our correspondence, Ophelia will know what I mean when I say tocayo.
What do you mean, tocayo? Okay, we have you have the same name. Yes, that's something already have in common, of course. So it's a good starting point.
No, and well, I'd just like to end by saying thank you very much for letting me substitute Gerard. I know that he was very upset that he had to cancel or to. That I was very, very pleased to be able to step in, and it's been really, really nice.
Thank you very much for accepting this invitation and giving such an insightful talk. Yes, I can imagine what you talked about. So it would be very interesting to follow, but forgive me, I had a lot of things to do and last minute changes and so on.
I was saying earlier, I was the coordinator for the Madrid convention in March.
Okay.
I think it was probably the worst weekend of my life.
You can understand. You can understand.
Okay, okay.
And that was in presence, so even worse because you had to move from maybe one room to another, so it was even worse. Okay, great. So maybe I think we can.
Let me take a screenshot of this session. So to
congratulations
to
on
widespread the social.
Day.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. I know there's a lot of work goes into it and a lot of unseen work in the background. And
that's true.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.